Hi, I'm Fred Iseman. I'm the chairman of MAS, and I want to thank you all for coming. Before I introduce Michael Sorkin, I hope you will all just look around the city and understand that we're turning into Singapore. I don't know if who's been to Singapore? It's a beautiful city, isn't it? I'm being ironic. How many of you saw the ad that Extel put out this week for the new towers that are going up next to the bridge? Did anybody see those? I thought they were particularly interesting because it's Extel's said, you know, this is a new Extel tower view. There's no attempt to, as there have been in previous things, to in other words, it's right in your face. You know, it's Extel. We're bringing it to you. Branding the super tall brand. I think the city's in a lot of trouble, and we're glad to hold this event to bring these issues to light. There are a few things that are near and dear, as Gina knows, to my heart. One of them is some sort of aesthetic review, and that aesthetic review can include scale. That can be imposed upon the designs that are imposed upon the city, because right now, as of right, is out of control. And the two mean the same thing. Secondly, and I know this has come up earlier today, how many of you live in co-ops? So you know that when you purchase a co-op, that's public information. And your personal information is published online by the City of New York. But if the air rights for the South Street Seaport, or let's say Lincoln Center, which has 4 million square feet of saleable air rights that are saleable today, were sold, that is not a disclosable transaction. That can be done with the stroke of a pen and no public disclosure, and no one has to know about it. And I think it is essential that we pass a law that be public information, that there be hearings before that happens, but that transaction of that nature be filed with the city, that there be public review, and but above all, that it be known. That this is just the beginning. These are some of the things that we're working on, but they're very defined, they're very doable, and they can have huge impact. And these are the sort of hard advocacy tasks that MAS is working on, and I think the difference between the city surviving is something that we recognize and not. On a more upbeat note, okay, we have a very good speaker next. No, I'm sorry, I just came back from Shanghai, okay? And I've been to Shanghai a number of times, and I was in Shanghai when it was a fascinating international city, and the Bund was still recognizable, and it's totally transformed. I mean, it's just amazing, and I don't know who's been to Shanghai. Anybody here? I mean, okay. So, how many of you have seen Pudong grow up across the river? It's just incredible. Okay, and you know, we have that capacity too. When you go to some of these cities in China, you see. What can be done in 10 short years with unlimited development, and if you can find the space, and the government backs it, and it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, there isn't a single good-looking building in that entire city that was built after 1930, whatever. In fact, what I noticed, I was standing on a terrace looking around with a fellow MAS board member, and I said, you know, as opposed to Hong Kong, which is plenty of tall towers, the architects who built in Hong Kong, you can see that they studied in the West. And have been exposed to Mies van der Rohe and people who have mastered the skyscraper form. The people who are building in Shanghai clearly have just looked at other bad buildings in China and built things that look like the things my son played with when he was 8, Transformers. They're just awful, and it's scary. And I come back here. I was in China 4 or 5 days ago. If I seem a bit jet lagged, and so it's fresh in my mind. So we have Chinese potential here. So this morning you heard from an array of experts, practitioners to policymakers, about this complex city, which is an interconnected web of competing interests and priorities, about how to quantify an asset's value and to generate a plan for its implementation, and how that requires a coordinated effort on the part of many, and it requires a holistic approach. I look out my window every day, which is on 59th Street, and there was originally a park plan from the Queensboro Bridge that was going to stretch to Central Park, and 60th Street, you have that strange double entrance to Central Park at 60th Street and 5th Avenue, and you have that strange exit from the Queensboro Bridge where you exit into a wall at 59th Street and 2nd Avenue. And the reason for that was that the space between 59th and 60th, if you go back and look at Bob Stern's New York 1900 book, I think it is that there was supposed to be a sort of Parisian esplanade that went between 59th and 60th all the way from Central Park to Queens. So you had this marvelous vista that looked from Queens to 8th Avenue and all the way back. And of course, developers got hold of it and it's gone. So every day my view into the wall of a Trump building, of all things, is a reminder of how the public franchise can be lost. This afternoon, we're joined by a series of experts who will focus on 2 other processes central to the support and success of our public assets: financing structures and outcome evaluations. But before we do that, we are joined by the acclaimed architect and writer Michael Sorkin. Michael is president of Terraform, a nonprofit dedicated to urban research and intervention, and publisher of UR Books, the principal of Michael Sorkin Studio, and an international design practice, and distinguished professor of architecture and director of the graduate program in urban design at the City College of New York. Michael is also the architecture critic of The Nation, contributing editor at Architectural Record, and author of 20 books, and editor of 20 books. And that's enough of me.